Hey everybody, welcome back to Masterpieces. Soundwave and I are back to talk about this week's episode, which was episode 8 of Transformers Prime Beast Hunters, and it was called Thirst. Again, I apologize for not being able to get a video out about last week's episode, but life is busy sometimes, guys. I'm sorry about that. But I am here to talk about this week's episode, and hopefully there will be no more interruptions, and I can continue to do this as the episodes come out. And, of course, I'm sure you all missed Soundwave and all of the interesting things he has to say about all the episodes. So, this week's episode was pretty much a filler of sorts. I mean, it tied up some loose ends, and did so in some interesting ways, but it was pretty much filler. So, unless Soundwave has anything he wants to say, I was going to just get started. Well, there's a surprise. He didn't have anything to say. Alright, so the episode starts right out on the Nemesis. We've got Knockout and we've got Starscream. They're sitting in Knockout's lab, and what's going on? Starscream's bitching. What's he bitching about? You guys will never guess. Shockwave and the Predacon. And the fact that, Megatron likes Shockwave better than him. And treats him better than him. Wah, wah, wah. And Knockout's just kind of going through the motions, probably thinking, oh boy, here we go. And once Starscream has finally finished airing his grievances, Knockout tells him that he's been working on this synthetic energon super soldier idea for Lord Megatron. He's taking synthetic energon and messing around with it to try and create a formula to create super soldiers for Lord Megatron. But he's having a problem with being able to control them because super aggression is a side effect. Now, we find out that his test subject is Silas/Breakdown. So yeah, Knockout has been experimenting on Breakdown for quite some time. I guess that's what's been up with him. So we kind of find out, oh, this is what happened to him. He didn't die. He's been experimented on for months. That's great. And I think it's Knockout kind of taking a little bit of revenge out on Silas, treating Silas how Silas treated Breakdown. So Starscream wants in because he wants to be back in Megatron's good graces. So he's like, all right, the super soldier idea is really cool. Let's run with this. Don't tell Shockwave anything. Let's keep it between you and me, and we'll surprise Megatron. All right. Knockout's kind of not sure about this, and he doesn't really know, and then... What does Starscream do? He decides, all right, listen, this is what we're going to do. We're going to take Dark Energon, and we're going to infuse it with the synthetic Energon. That way, Megatron can control the super soldiers. Because if it's infused with Dark Energon, Megatron automatically has a mental link to it, and he can control it. Knockout, why would you even try and listen to this? Why would you even think this is a good idea? If it comes out of Starscream's mouth and it involves don't tell anyone, don't get involved. You know it's going to fail and it's going to be bad. Anyway, Knockout really wants to present the idea to Lord Megatron, so Starscream shows up. He tries to tell Lord Megatron about the idea, but Lord Megatron is talking to Shockwave and he tells Starscream it'll have to wait, and Shockwave says, well, who was that? And, Megatron says, no one important, so Starscream's pride is all wounded. He's like, oh, I'm no one important. Goes back to Knockout, and he's like, all right, let's do this. So they do. They infuse him with Dark Energon, and what happens? He turns into an Energon-sucking zombie monster with, like, an alien tongue thing. And he escapes, and he proceeds to infect half of the crew of the Nemesis. Yeah. And Starscream and Knockout, Starscream's still trying to say, don't tell Megatron, we can contain this. Yeah. Alright. So, what happens next? Alright, Megatron finds out, obviously. Megatron finds out and puts the ship on high alert, and everybody's just out trying to kill zombies, basically. They're just running around trying to kill zombies. Meanwhile, the Silas monster stumbles across Arachnid in stasis. Now, one of the other side effects of the synthetic energon is that the Transformers burn through their normal energon much faster, so they need more and more energon, hence now they need to suck energon out of other Transformers. So he pops open the stasis pod to suck out Arachnid's energon. And there's this big fight, and she ends up killing him. So that threat is eradicated. Meanwhile, everybody else is on the ship, and they're shooting zombies. And Soundwave picks up on the fact that Arachnid has escaped. And what she does is she's wandering around the ship, and she uses some telekinesis type shit and calls the Insecticons to her to obey her command. And they do. They fall back under her spell or whatever, and she instructs them to annihilate all the Decepticons while they have the chance. So what does Soundwave do? He shows up to meet Arachnid and all the Insecticons alone. Why? Because he's a beast. That's why. Because he's a badass. Soundwave is the shit. That's why. What does he do? As soon as the Insecticons and Arachnid start charging, he space bridges them away. Into space. Into some barren, awful place. Alone. This was great. I was happy about this. I hated Arachnid. I was happy when this happened. Meanwhile, Starscream and Knockout are running away from all these Vicon zombies, and they lock themselves into this. They lock themselves into this room, and they have this little moment with each other that I'm really not sure about. Basically, they tell each other, you know, if we're gonna die, I'm gonna be honest. And Starscream tells him, listen, if this is our last moment, if these are our last moments, I want to let you know it's been an honor to serve Lord Megatron with you. And Knockout looks at him and he goes, you know, you're no breakdown, but I've always admired your lustrous finish. And I think Starscream blushed a little bit. Or the lighting made it look like he did. Either way, it was really uncomfortable. It was a little awkward. And I don't want to analyze it too much because I'm afraid to. And I'm just going to leave that alone. I'm not going to go any further with that. Anyway. So, what happened? So they eradicate all the Vicons, and Shockwave, you know, puts a quarantine plan and protocol, and they regain control of the ship, and everything's fine. Megatron, you know, tells Knockout and Starscream, you guys, that was bad. That was really, really bad. Knockout's punishment is that he has to hand all of his projects over to Shockwave, and he has to report to Shockwave for everything. And Knockout's like, alright, fine, cool. Knockout really kind of just takes it because he knows he deserves it, because he knows he done goofed. Now, Megatron tells Starscream that he has to punish him in the only way that Starscream is going to understand. And then the screen fades to black. So I'm assuming Starscream got the shit kicked out of him. And that's basically what happened. Then we get a little bonus clip at the end with Arachnid and the Insecticons, and she tells them to obey her and line up, and she proceeds to turn into a zombie and start sucking out all their energon, and that's the end of the episode. So the Insecticons and Arachnid get marooned. She's a zombie. She's gonna turn them all into zombies, and they're stuck there, and that's the end of that. What a kind of a crappy way to go, and I'm kind of sad that that happened to the Insecticons, because I liked them. I thought they were cool. Now they're zombies. It makes me sad. Now, again, this episode was filler. There were a lot of comic relief moments. Starscream and Knockout running away from everything. Very funny. But it was filler. And it did tie up some loose ends, so we did get to find out finally what happened to Silas. And we did find out, I guess, what happened to Arachnid. And you know what? She deserves everything she gets. I can't stand her. But Knockout should really take a lesson. Don't listen to Starscream or go along with anything he says. You're going to get in trouble. And he knew it, too. Knockout just kind of goes through the whole thing like, oh, I should have seen this coming. I should have seen this coming. You know. Knockout kind of got screwed over a little bit with this one. But anyway, Soundwave, any thoughts? I didn't think so. But anyway, that was the episode. Hopefully we'll get to see the Predacons next week. Until then, everyone, all hail Megatron, and we'll see you next weekend for the next update.